organization called the Progressive Empowerment Party, and it's about an event called It's Time, a public event on the state of affairs in Trinidad and Tobago. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning, Andy. Good morning to all of your viewers and listeners.
All right, well, let me begin by saying that I'm delighted that you've agreed to talk with me in this capacity about anything, because my understanding is that you don't have me now in such high regards as to occupy your time.
I think you're one of the most brilliant journalists in the country. The problem is the way the media handles politics and people who are not connected enough to give out advertising contracts, but that's another conversation another time. The Progressive Empowerment Party does not get its due and its rightful share of media time across all media, and it will forever be a complaint of mine.
You don't think so? You don't think you'll get your how do you measure how much what a share you should have?
I have a team that works at calling all media, all radio, all TV to get interviews for myself as politically the largest political party in the country. I watch Gary Griffith and his one-man show. He could get on every radio and TV station every other morning, but we can't. And I know that it is because we challenge issues that go to the heart of what we consider the corruption in Trinidad and Tobago that many benefit from, including those with vested interests in media. So they do their endeavor best to block us, and we have to take that and do our best, thank God for social media, and every now and then, the kindness of people like you.
All right, well, that's a separate issue from what I was getting at, but we could discuss that in some other form.
Whoever told you that I don't hold you in high regard was telling the truth, because I believe that you are one of the most brilliant journalists we have.
All right, okay, I'm tempted to take your word for it, but let's get to what this event is. It's time.
Another attempt at unifying the public in the face of rampant corruption and the collapse of the country, the looming collapse of the country. We are all standing on the deck of the Titanic, whether we choose to believe it or not. 533 as of last night for murders. And we have a political divide that one is avoiding the conversation, the other is practically celebrating it as it shows the failure of one. In fact, instead of government and opposition and everything coming together to try and save lives and pretend and prevent this madness from taking place, we have commissioners of police, past, present, future, admitting that the guns that come into this country, the 40,000 guns that the Prime Minister admitted exist, comes through legitimate ports of call, and the head of customs has not been fired. There's no investigation. There's no police. We put police and army on the road to prevent small crimes, but nobody is investigating the large crimes, allowing guns to come into the country to the volume of 40,000 guns. The last time we got a number was 2017. I shudder to think what is the size and volume of the number now.
All right, so where and when this event?
This Saturday at 5 p.m. This Saturday at 5 p.m. It is going to be a mega event. We have live entertainment. We have cultural dancing, Prophet Benjamin, other entertainers. We have the representatives of all faiths doing their blessings, and then many contributions from civil leaders and those in public life, and an open mic for the public. It is a conversation that will be shared with the world as to where we are, where we can go, where we should go, and how we could get there. The people of this country are frustrated. This morning, there are people who cannot see you for whatever reason. The show might be blocked because I'm on it. And I know that sounds weird that I would say that, but I understand you're having difficulty with your broadcast right now. And that's the reality of what we face in Trinidad and Tobago. A tiny little 1.4 million people dot in the ocean that is a narco pipeline to the world, that is corrupt to the core. We've had $3 trillion. Norway had $1.3 trillion. They invested all of their $1.3 trillion into what we've copied to call a heritage fund. And their $1.3 trillion guarantees $242,000 US to every single citizen in Norway. While in Trinidad, we broken in debt, and the only thing that Trinidadians are inheriting, their children and their grandchildren, are all of these schemes and loans and credits that the government is borrowing from alphabet soups of companies, of organizations like the IDB and China and Venezuela and others. None of this should be allowed to continue. But it is the reality of a nation divided by race, where political string pullers operate the two races to the disadvantage of all.
But let's say your party gets into office, whether on its own strength or in alliance with others. What would be different in terms of our international relations? We are continuing to be a developing country where we need assistance from multilateral lending agencies, as they call them, different kinds of partnerships with institutions that we must go to. How is that going to be any different?
Okay, first of all, we will not enter into any alliances with anybody. We have no interest. I, Philip Edward Alexander, have no interest in that. At 55 years old, my only purpose in politics is to try to rescue my country. And if that is not possible, I will go my merry way. With regards to borrowing money, there will always be need for development funding, short-term credit and stuff if you don't have proper management of your cash flow. We had massive cash flow. We had oil booms, sugar booms, gas booms, cocoa booms. Trinidad should be rich for centuries to come. Put that aside. Would we need to borrow money from the IDB to pave roads when we've had 5 roads before to pave roads, and we had a gasoline tax to pave roads, and we have budget allocations to pave roads, and we never fix the roads? Would it make sense to peel it back and go and look at what actually passes as road construction in this country? The media sees what I see when they share images of road collapse throughout the country, a ribbon of tar on top of dirt. Where's the foundation for the roads? Where are those conversations? We're not having them because it's in nobody's best interest to have them, because in the early days, an old boys club that's running Trinidad and Tobago, and they're benefiting from all of the corruption and all of the mismanagement financially. So where do we go as a nation under this and continue forward like this and expect anything good to come from it?
And how would you guarantee the public that you would do it differently?
My brother, I have been an activist. Gary Griffith calls me an activist, not a politician. I think that's the greatest compliment anybody ever told me. I've been an activist for 3 decades of my life. I have assisted the homeless, the orphans, the disabled. I am responsible for handicap parking in this country. We pushed for and forced through the Children's Authority law, the Dangerous Dog Act, and while a little boy was savagely bitten this past couple of weeks going here, that followed on years of tens of people dying every year from dog bite. We fixed things. We've already fixed things. Philip will fix it as a successful campaign because people are turning to me. I hold no office. I get no funding. And we get stuff done for people. Again, there are people this morning who woke up to no water in a country that has a rainforest climate. And if the media doesn't understand what that means, I want to explain to you. We got 100 million times more water falling for free on this country every year than we could ever possibly use. And we take it in our water management system designed to throw the water into the sea and then spend $1 billion every year desalinating seawater. This country is a contradiction and an oxymoron. We carry on as if all of this is politics. I hope and pray that there is a God, because justice will not exist in Trinidad and Tobago as long as this corruption continues to operate the nation state. And I can tell you one thing. Yesterday, the Express editorial published what I could only believe is a compilation of my words. And one of the things that they admitted to yesterday is our justice system presides over a human rights atrocity that nobody is speaking about in this country, and we should be dealing with it every day. There are young men and possibly women languishing in jail for years longer than they should. And the president, who has the power, the director of public prosecutions, who has the power, the chief justice, who has the power, and the commissioner of police, who have the power to terminate those matters and set these people free. People who have been in jail, thousands of people incarcerated, who have been in jail longer than they should have been, could have been if they were sentenced to the maximum. They're still there. And but for the money to be able to afford bail or a lawyer, it's stuck in a system where it took 25 years for our justice system to find the person who broke into Stevens and Johnson's guilty 2 decades after Stevens and Johnson's closed down. We have mad crises in this country, and we cannot continue to be distracted by foolishness or playing tribal, racist, divisive politics to our demise.
Isn't that the nature of the democracy and of just governance? Because there are countries that are not democracies where people people are given death sentences and that kinds of things for opposing what the people in power are doing. There doesn't seem to be, wherever you look, countries that are developed, countries that are developing, countries that are underdeveloped, the same kinds of issues. You have the question of being resource rich, but reality in people's lives, there's a gap between that.
A lot of things you said there. I want to start from the end and go back to the beginning. Dubai, Singapore, Norway are examples of the opposite. Dubai, Singapore, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Switzerland, Iceland are countries that took whatever mega resources they had and put it to work for the people. Knowing that there are countries that also have human rights atrocities taking place is no justification for us. You, Andy Johnson, have power. I, Philip Alexander, have power. Our power is limited to what we can do with our voices, but still we have power. If your son or daughter or wife or father or friend was languishing in a jail cell this morning, you would use your power for them. We need to use our power for people we don't know. We need to use our power for the weak. That's the purpose of power. And if we don't, Trinidad is a joke.
You said if we don't, what?
Trinidad is a joke. If no office holder cares, and if you as media and me as activists don't care, this country's not a real country, it's a joke. You cannot tell me this morning that after what I just said, you do not call for the country to shut down and address that. One person losing their freedom, their essential liberty for injustice presided over by our justice system is unacceptable. The last time per capita the world faced such atrocities, it went to war.
And for you to fix it, you think that you need to get more presence in the public space, and that is not happening.
My friend, the only reason I'm in politics is because being an activist is not enough to solve it. Trinidad is a really corrupt little nation. Right now, we are deficit financing to steal money at a government level. And you know everything that I am saying is true, and everybody in the media and everybody in every version of civil society knows what I am saying is true. And it's like we're all standing dumbstruck waiting for the ship to sink. When we could get together and work in harmony to fix it, to rescue it, this shouldn't continue. A 60-year-old country that had $3 trillion in revenue should not be broken in debt because we have Napan, Sapan, Taruba. What do we have to show for it? The things that are not falling apart were built by the Queen and the Americans. Everything that we built is collapsing around us. Look at it. This is the conversation we have to have. If I am not saying it, who is? Who's coming to tell you this? Everybody is nakedly self-serving. The entire NTA that Gary Griffith formed is a way to strong-arm himself back into a public office and the commissioner's job. We need politicians who are activists again. We need people fighting for people who don't have power, who don't have water in the taps this morning. Trinidad buys more tanks and water pumps per capita than any country in the world. And we have more water falling on Diego Martin alone than the country could use. This is a joke. That we allow this to continue playing African Indian politics is a joke. This is not real. This is somebody in heaven making a joke on all of us, because real people wouldn't make this as a deliberate decision if we had set out to plan this country.
And your message is getting across to who it should. You don't think that so this kind of traditional media is not where your major audience is, and from my understanding, you as well as other members of your team are quite savvy with other forms of media, and that's where the action is, and that's where the young people are.
I agree 100%, but a large part of my following are what we call the golden girls, the elders and the ladies in society support the Progressive Empowerment Party because they seem to be intelligent enough to be first adopters to change. But we have a massive groundswell of support, and it's growing, and I think on Saturday, the 19th of November, people will see a large turnout. But I want to tell you something, Andy. Whether or not everything you said was true or not, I am entitled under the Constitution, 3 articles of the Constitution guarantees me my right to equal time on the media. All of the media occupy spaces that belong to the taxpayers. Their right to broadcast belongs to the taxpayers. Robbing the taxpayers of any version of an option is misbehavior in public office. So let me just say one more thing, please. If the Progressive Empowerment Party had its rightful share of media, by now it would either be in government or very close to it, and there would be no need for fake parties to be formed, because people would know that there is an actual political option that is a counterbalance to the corruption and racist tribal nonsense of the PLM and the UNC.
Where does it say now? Who measures the kind of presence that anybody has in this is private media, quite apart from state media, and how do you
Your right to broadcast is owned. The bandwidth is owned by the taxpayers. You pay, you get permission from the organizations of state that give permission for radio licenses and TV licenses. Your ability to broadcast is owned by the taxpayers that pays the salaries of the government and makes them state. That's how it works. But you should research what equal time laws are. A prime minister of Israel was jailed for manipulating equal time laws in Israel for politics. This is not a real country. In a real country, when Arnold Schwarzenegger threw his hat in the ring for governor of California, the Federal Communication Commission sent a letter to all TV and cable companies within a 3-mile radius of California to tell them, if you broadcast any Arnold Schwarzenegger shows during the 6 weeks of the election, you will have to give each and every one of his opponents equal time. That's what it means. It means that the media and ethics in media should force journalists to be ashamed. Ethics in media should tell you, even if I don't like Philip Edward Alexander, if I disagree with his tone, if I don't like his glasses or the way they sit on his nose, it doesn't matter, because he's a political option. And we should make all political options available to all the people so they could make an informed decision, which is the purpose of media.
And you insist that you don't get as much media attention as you think you ought to.
Attention. And we put out releases that are ignored. We champion issues. The last 5 big issues in this country, including Andrea Barrett, the Candlelight Movement, before divers that drowned in barrier, were all because of Philip Edward Alexander, the Progressive Empowerment Party, and social media. We don't allow this to keep us back. We're still the 3rd largest political party, because when I call it the 3rd largest, because they won't test us, they won't poll us, they won't bring us on television, live television for debate. And I tell you something, and you can tell your superiors this, that if you all were able to pull off a debate with the political leaders of the top 5-6 parties, the numbers, the value of the financial value will be incalculable. The people of Trinidad and Tobago are being robbed by media. And I say this to you this morning, not that I care anymore. I just need to say it, to put it on record, to continuously put it on record. I say it to you, Andy Johnson, as one of the next generation of seniors in media, the generation above you all dying out. You there now, as a senior, somebody in conversation that could ask, are 2 7- and 15-minute interviews with TV6 for the Progressive Empowerment Party in the last 5 years enough? Gary Griffin has launched an MTA with himself, his wife, and his employees. And he's had more interviews last week than I've had in the last 7 years. Now, prior to there being a Progressive Empowerment Party, I was a media darling. Prior to me challenging the contract mafia and exposing the 1% and the naked corruption of the country, I was on every TV station when I was nothing but an activist. How funny is that? I have hundreds of pages of top stories, letter of the day, featured letter. Your colleague Maxi Coffey hired me as a columnist. In the Mirror, I was the only columnist that was allowed to write for the weekday and the weekend. There was a day there was a letter from Philip Alexander published in the Guardian, Express, and Newsday, 3 different letters. I know to myself, when Iowa George told me about the man that called him and telling me to bring Philip on the station again, he would lose state advertising. That's misbehaving in public office. That's corruption. I can't get Iowa George to admit to that. I can't get Iowa George into a courtroom to get that person charged with misbehaving in public office. The Integrity Commission should want to weigh in on all of this. And at the end of the day, brother, it is a fight and a struggle, like every fight or every struggle. And I think that we are well beyond the part of the conversation where we discuss if it's affecting us or not. It is obviously affecting us.
All right, I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much. We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for having me.